Let's talk about our French superstar winger, Allan St Maximin. And there's been a lot of talk this week about St Maximin possibly leaving the club in the summer, and there's been a lot of debate online about whether or not St Maximin is worthy of being in this Newcastle United squad. Let's get into it. These are my thoughts on this situation. First of all, St Maximin is undoubtedly one of the, if not the most talented player we have in that squad, and his ceiling, in my opinion, is probably the highest of any player we've got in the squad, with the possible exception of Bruno now. So St Maximin for me is a player that, if you can get him firing properly, he is worthy of a place in the squad. The argument against St Maximin is about consistency, and I think that whilst that is a valid argument, there are some reasons why I think that that is slightly unfair, and really that comes down to the way that the team has been set up this season and in previous years while he's been at the club. Let's be honest, Newcastle United for the last 3 years, or 2.5 years since St Maximin came, have not been a free-flowing, attacking, footballing side. Even under Eddie Howe, when we are better at attacking, we're still not that good in the final third of the pitch. We don't score enough goals. I've said it many times on this channel before that the good run, really, that Eddie Howe managed to get us on in order to secure our Premier League survival was based on improving the defence rather than improving the attack. The attack, for me, is still a bit too blunt. We don't create enough and we don't score enough goals. Now, St Maximin, in my opinion, is absolutely one of the best players we have in the final third. He's got the most assists, along with Ryan Fraser, of anyone in the squad this year. He's actually played more minutes of football than anyone else in the Newcastle team this year, even though he's missed some games. And there's a reason for that. The reason for that is he is absolutely scary for defenders on the opposition. He is capable of creating something out of nothing. And quite honestly, we require him to do that quite often because we're not good enough at creating just chance after chance after chance. We're just not that type of team at the moment. What happens with St Maximin is people get frustrated with him because it appears like he tries to do too much. And I sometimes accuse him of this myself. Like, sometimes you'll see him in attacking positions and he'll try and take on 4 or 5 players. But the reason he ends up doing that, I think, is because he has no other options. The players around him just aren't good enough to be in space, and in an attacking sense, like I say in the final third, we're just not a team that gets loads of bodies forward, and so we end up in this situation where our best player in an attacking sense is frustrating because it looks like he constantly loses possession. What I would say is that he actually has improved that area of his game, and he does actually pass the ball off more often than not. But ultimately, it's a criticism of him that is somewhat valid, but also I think needs to be looked at in the context of how Newcastle United play football and attack. And until really next season, under Eddie Howe, we'll not know whether St Maximin can improve that part of his game to the level that we want to see as fans. For me, it's very easy to say that St Maximin doesn't create enough, he doesn't score enough, but ultimately it comes down to the team as a whole. And the reason I really don't want to see St Maximin leave is because I want to see him get the chance next season under Eddie Howe, playing the way Eddie Howe actually wants to fully set the team up. I want to see Allan St Maximin play football in an attacking Eddie Howe squad team. Now, will he get to do that? I don't know. I hope he does. I hope he doesn't leave. If we cash in on him, it's possible that he goes somewhere else and is just the same player we've seen for the last 2.5 to 3 years, and that, yes, he's insanely talented, but actually he can never reach anything higher than that. I don't believe that's the case. I believe if we sold Allan St Maximin, he might be one that we regret letting go, even though we might end up buying lots of amazing players in the future because we're now owned by the Saudi PIF and can basically afford brilliant players in the future. And I'm sure we will buy some really good players to come in. But that's kind of what I want to see. I want to see St Maximin in a really good squad with really good players around him. And you've just got to look at the fact that Bruno's come in and looks like a class act to see that we need to improve the squad so much if we want to get into that top 6. It's absolutely mad. But we are on track to do that. And I think Saint-Maximin, let's be honest, would save us a lot of money if we can make it work. Whether Eddie Howe views Saint-Maximin as the kind of player he wants in his team, that could be where this story's coming from, in my opinion. It could be that Eddie Howe looks at the way Saint-Maximin plays and just sees him as a bit of a luxury that he isn't prepared to have in his team. And what I mean by that is that Saint-Maximin is what he is. He's a bit of a maverick. He's not a player who's going to track back and be really, really committed to the way the team play. And it might be that Eddie Howe wants a team full of players who will work hard in attack and defence. And rightly or wrongly, Saint-Maximin might not be that kind of player. And you either accept that and you work around it, or it might be that he has to leave. Personally, I want to see him stay at the club. That's my view. I think he's worthy of his place. I think he's quality. I think a lot of the criticism of him is completely unjustified and unfair. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying there's no criticisms that are valid of him, because I think there are. But overall, I think he's quality, and I think that I'd just like to see him have at least one more season, and then in 12 months' time we can come back to this point and say, yeah, okay, he's either fantastic and he's performing and creating millions of chances, or he's just doing what he's done for the last 2.5 years. That's not going to cut it at this club anymore, because we have sights to break into the top 6 or the top 4 or whatever and challenge properly. We'll see what happens.